the New World Order? The New World Order does not mean surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests. He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial. How can I convince you when you're introduced to here? Turn your heart away from me each time when I come here.
Hang on, darling. Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath. You know, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas. Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon down, put the sky and drop the sun.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8631.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hours. My guest today is VK Durham. Hello, Vina. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty well right now. Outside of being a little bit cold and
Well, it's not here.
bundled up like I'm in Alaska or something.
Yeah, well, it's 9 below here.
9 below?
Yeah.
Incredible. It's a little bit better than that here. It's almost, it almost got down to freezing last night, but I haven't frozen yet, so. You know, I've got something up on the on my website here about, whoops, what do we got here? Are we still up on everything? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The Federal Reserve is now arming officers and
Police officers.
police officers, yeah. So and I had up on one of my on my Facebook page a picture of a federal police officer, Department of Homeland Security police officer, and then you sent me this thing about the Federal Reserve arming police officer. We know Homeland Security bought 1 billion rounds of ammo or something like that. I don't know. What are they doing this for? Is this to keep us from getting the ammo, or?
I don't know, Clay. I you know, as I was talking to you earlier, This is the same thing that happened World War II. It's the same thing. They used all of those bonds that had been canceled from 1933, and so all banks went belly up. That's what that war was over. But see, mine is was non-existent because mine was constitutional authorization. Mine was duly constituted. Mine was never canceled. But anyway,
Vina, I'm having trouble hearing you. We're having maybe I'm having a connection problem. Let me hang up on you and have.
Let's see if this is better. Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot better.
And this thing happened before. The same bankers made the same mistake. They were using everybody else's money. They went belly with the world into a jobless situation, and they had to have to pay the debt. They had to have these wars so that they could put the men and women back to work again. You know, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That darn Federal Reserve has not paid a debt since they came into existence. They drove England to bankruptcy. They've driven every nation in the world that they've been associated with to bankruptcy. They destroyed all of them. They've destroyed. You think of what they destroyed. They've destroyed everything, all the historical monuments, all of the historical values. All you've got is the Nazi, the old gods coming forth. They're starting to worship Satan again. And this is ridiculous. Where in the blue blazes is our ministers? Where are the shepherds that lead these flocks? Why are we going through this? This is ridiculous when you've got a group of people, a group of Zionists pretending to be Jews who are not any more Jew than I am.
Yeah, Benjamin Friedman, who was a Jewish historian, referred to them as so-called Jews. He said they didn't have any more right to be, and the DNA tests show that the real Jews they call Palestinians.
True. True. This is the saddest thing I've ever seen, that they allow this to happen. And it's happening just like it did in Germany, just all across Europe, just the slaughtering of innocents all over the world just because they would like to see bloodbaths everywhere. These people are evil.
Yeah, I personally think that they're jealous of us because we got something they don't. It's called a soul.
There you go. There you go.
You know, and my God, the Bible tells us, or Jesus told you, this ain't Clay Douglas being anti-Semitic here. Jesus told you to beware of the Jews who say they're Jews, but are not, or of the synagogue of Satan. And that's really the only answer here. I mean, they are evil, but the problem is they control all the money because they print it. They control all the, and Thomas Jefferson warned you, if you allow the private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land we conquered. I mean, you talk about Nazi Germany, you talk about Germany, the Jews demonized the Germans, demonized Hitler, and they started that and declared war on the Germans before Germany ever did anything, before Germany invaded Poland, before Germany did anything.
The Jewish Congress, I think it was in 1911, that they declared war on everybody, so, you know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And when they can turn around and start erecting statues of Satan on public property where the Ten Commandments were,
Well, yeah, let's, we haven't even talked about that. Tell people about that. Listen, I'm gonna have Dave call you back because I'm not getting a good connection here. I'm not getting good sound from you.
Okay.
Let me have him call you right back. I'm gonna hang up and then I'll bring you. He'll bring you right back up. Wolf Spirit will call you.
Okay.
All right, Dave. See if we can bring her up. Here we go. Alright. Call failed. Let's try it again. Answer it again, Vina. We're trying to bring her back up again.
But for some reason, she's not answering.
I don't know why. Want me to try to bring her up on here on this computer with you? Maybe she'll answer my call. Let me try that.
Go ahead and try.
And people. She's calling me back, but I can't answer it on this machine. Right? Vina, can you see Dave calling? You call me back, it comes in on the other machine, and this machine ain't working right.
I don't see him calling me, no.
Okay, let me hang up and try you back and bring you up on the other computer here. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Alright. Put that one on hold. Jesus Christ. Alright, we're back on that one. Now let me bring VK back up here. See if we can get her up. Okay, I'm trying to bring her up too. Try one more time, Dave. Or I'll bring her up on the other machine, even though it's a little garbled. What the hell is going on here?
Well, she's showing up here as not online. She's not seeing the call.
Okay.
I don't have any idea outside of the fact that it's not working.
Alright, I'll bring her back up here and we'll see if this works. If I can get her, if she'll shows that she's here. She shows that she's online to me. Let's try to bring her.
She doesn't show us online to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, I don't know what the heck's going on, but I got you up here, and we're back here. We just can't bring you up on, Wolf Spirit can't bring you up. You don't even show up online to him.
Well, we're being blocked. I was just sitting here thinking, they're listening to us, and we're being blocked.
Why are they so scared of you, Grandma? I mean, when Russell was working with the CIA, were they trying to use you, or were they? I mean, it's only after they killed him that they started harassing you, isn't it? Or when did this start?
Well, actually, it started when Rusty and I took the 3x3x3 Bonnie Light crude of Saddam contract, and we sold that. It was sold it to World Trade Towers. Went through Hill, Bets and Mash, the One World Trade Towers, Nathaniel Lavelle, and Donaldson, who later Donaldson, Lufkin, and Jan Rath, and Donaldson later became over there with the Securities Exchange Commission. But he was part of it. And when we sold that contract, Zapata Oil, which is George Bush, and Union Oil bought the contract. But they never paid Saddam for his oil. And that's what all this mess has been about. And then they got themselves in such a blooming mess that they can't bail their butts out. They're trying, we've got a president who seems to think that everything that's owned by the people is owned by him. And if it's owned by the Federal Reserve, it's owned by him. Well, I got news for you. We're free Federal Reserve. He don't own the damn thing. Neither do they, except the big dad. Then we've got the Secret Service, that Agent David Kennedy, who, when George Bush, in year 2000, it was 2001, when George Bush in my life was threatened, Bill Anderson over at Senator Grassley, who's chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, called Secret Service, and they came to the house. And we told the Secret Service about all of that counterfeiting going on with that Gaia group, with the Eckers, and counterfeiting prime bank instruments. Well, David Kennedy told me, he got very nasty with it, and he says, well, we are not going to investigate, Mr. And he says, I'm telling you right now, don't you bother us. Our only job is to protect the president of the United States. I said, well, what about the people? What about the national security? He says, our only job is to protect the president. He said, don't ever call me again.
Now,
Now, recently, in a conversation with my daughter, I found out that Mr. Kennedy has been communicating with my daughter, who's about as Looney Tunes as 100 squirrels in a 2x2 cage. And they've been trying to get me back to where my daughter is so they could get a guardianship over me. Well, nobody can get a guardianship over except a family member. And the little Mr. Kennedy knows that because Gene Valentine tried that, if you remember. And he found out he didn't have the power to do it. So anyway, they were going to come get me and take me back, and next thing I knew, there was going to be a guardianship over me. Well, you remember they put a guardianship over Jackie, my secretary, and she died. And now then this Kennedy is working on my daughter. And the only thing I can say is they have enough common sense to realize that they cannot ex post facto and go free Federal Reserve to save their asses. And
Now,
so
is this Kennedy the Secret Service agent? Is he still in the Secret Service, or is he
I
retired?
think so. My daughter just talked to him this last 30 days. Her husband does too. So, which tells me, and I'll be honest with you, when we've got people like that and playing on the emotions of families and playing on the money game, you have to call it the money game. That's the devil's money game, you know? And when you've got that going, it's the same game that they wrote Adolf Hitler into. Same one. And because they used those old bombs that were canceled in 1933 and then left him hanging on the hook for them. And so I don't know. I just think that they are so desperate. And now they form their police. The Federal Reserve formed. Where in the hell does Congress get the authority to let them have the authority to put police, armed police, at the Federal Reserve? Where? They don't have that authority.
What is
Congress
it? What
doesn't have that
the
authority.
same thing? I've got the same question about the Homeland Security.
They don't have that. They do not. When these presidents give away their powers, which like to the EPA and Homeland Security, they do not have that executive power to do that. Not by Constitution. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to say this, as far as I'm concerned, that Federal Reserve can kiss my rosy red. For them to be that low life, that's low life. It's nothing but trash. These people are nothing but trash. They're totally unacceptable in any society. All they do is take their might of arms and go and just slay the hell out of people. They take our young men and women and throw them into a war play, and then the kids come back injured. Well, they've already spent all the money that was in the trust fund that would take care of their health care problems, and now they're begging the public to take care of them. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Where do they have the authority to do this? By Constitution, they don't. And Congress doesn't have the authority, nor does the President, to grant them the power to do it.
Grandma, every administration, even all the way back to Ronald Reagan, every year they declare a national emergency for one reason or another. Obama just signed another one. That's where they're getting, this is the color of law. This is where they're getting the authority to do this. Well, it's a national emergency,
We've got a national emergency. Our national emergency resides right there in that Washington, D.C. with that House and Senate and the executive branch. That's our emergency. They have become a threat to the entire world.
Yes, ma'am. And there are several generals that are calling now for being they're calling for a march on Washington. Now, when the bikers went to Washington, when the truckers went to Washington, I said they only made one mistake. They didn't stay there and go into Congress and arrest these congressmen.
It takes two people to walk in and declare treason. And why didn't they do it? They had all those up there. Why didn't they walk in and declare treason?
Well, my question. That's my question. I mean, you know, if they had, when you had 1 million bikers in there, if they just went into Congress and performed a citizen arrest. Now, I've arrested.
No, you walked into there and you declared treason. You don't do any citizen's arrest. They say you're crazy. You become automatically a squirrel in a squirrel cage. But you declared treason. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This thing is far out of hand. Now, if they think that, now, with this David Kennedy messing around with my family, and David, I hope your little butt is listening. That daughter of mine is ill. She is mentally ill. She's a psychopath. That daughter of mine, and I've stayed away from them all these years to keep them from being hurt by that. But now you've entered into our lives. Well, now, I'm going to tell you something. You know, I've got a big mouth. I've got an awful big mouth. And I know where the bodies are buried, and you know damn good what I do, David. And any rest of you son of a bitches that's listening in, you know I know where the bodies are. And I have never violated my oath, and I have never been relieved to do it, and you assholes know it. Now, I'm not supposed to say certain things because of Jack Kennedy. But I'm going to tell you something. This nation is in danger by you people, not by us over. When you go in and you create a problem with a family member, knowing that this individual is mentally ill, that's very cruel. You also know that this woman, my daughter, and my children have been one of the sickest batch of puppies on the face of this earth. When they can get upset enough to create an old man, my father, who orders them out of the house, and to get him so upset that he has a heart attack, and then they take and alter my mother's and my father's will. They declare to the courts that they are my mother's and my father's children. Then they burn the family home, cover up any evidence. You know, I think all of you have a lot of answering to do, and you will answer to me. You will ultimately answer to me, because you see, there's something I have that you want. You are not going to get it. Now, you murdered my husband, you destroyed my family, and if you think you're going to get it, you better think again. It'll be a cold day in hell, and I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
Vina, what you said you took an oath. I took mine when I joined the Army at 17. I said there was no expiration date. When and where did you take that oath? You took the same oath. And by the way, all the FBI and all the congressmen out there took an oath too. they
Yeah.
violated theirs. What about you? When did this happen? I knew Russell was in the CIA. Where were you?
I worked undercover with Jack in his organized crime task force.
Okay. With Kennedy,
So,
Jack Kennedy.
yeah, you remember the 10-man hit squad that he had that was investigating the congressmen and the senators? That was our group.
So you were directly under the president.
I answered only to Bobby and to Jack.
And of course, they killed both of them. I mean, this was, Bobby was really coming down on organized crime as Attorney General, and he would have been a shoo-in for president. And then, of course, John Kennedy Jr., he would have been a shoo-in too, and he knew what was happening. He knew his father had been killed. He knew who killed his father, and he had his newspaper, and he was going to reveal that.
Well, I guess he would know because he used to play under Jack's desk there when he was concealed by the modesty panel. That child knew everything that went on.
What about his sister? What happened to her?
She is a diplomat to Israel, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
Jesus. Now, one of the things that's happening here, U.S. Army Colonel Harry G. Riley, he runs Patriots for America website. He has an event. He said his event is planned for May 16th. Doesn't have an organized sponsor. It will just be individual Americans assembling to demand a restoration of their nation. He said they won't leave Washington until they see change. 1 million or more of the assembled 10 million must be prepared to stay in D.C. as long as it takes to see Obama, Biden, Reid, McConnell, Boehner, Pelosi, and Attorney General Holder removed from office. What about that? Is that now this has happened before. Now you probably are aware of the bonus army, and
it happened before during the Pullman strike, and they shot the strikers. They shot Americans. MacArthur went in there and just machine gunned the hell out of them, he and I. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Just because they wear a tag called general or colonel or whatever, don't trust them. Or president or congressman or senator. Don't trust them. You can't trust them. The FBI, we used to respect our law enforcement. Now they are the dirtiest things walking. Secret Service. That has been in effect since 1790 under the Coast Guard. And look at them. Look at them. I'm ashamed of them. And I told David Kennedy there.
The Secret Service was in on the murder of Kennedy.
Yep.
And maybe the only one they were protecting was LBJ, who was working for Israel. We're working for the bankers.
Well, you know, John Cypher, Secret Service agent, he was Kennedy's own personal Secret Service agent. And they pulled him off. Yeah. He didn't go to the Dells. They pulled him off, put him on another assignment.
You know, who do we don't have anyone to trust. We can't the congressmen, the senators, 535 people up there are working for the bankers. They ain't working for us. They ain't defending the American people. Now, what they did in Iceland, and what they did in Egypt, that ought to be an inspiration to Americans.
Americans, those Zionists have control of Hollywood. You watch that Miley Cyrus. All she does is stick her tongue out and she acts like she's ready to go down on any man that's available. And That's what we're represented by, filth. We're represented by nothing but filth that has been dreamed up, conjured out of Hollywood that allegedly represents the morals of this nation. No, it does not represent the morals of this nation. These people are an embarrassment to this nation.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback there, Grandma. I don't know where that's coming from, but okay, now that's better. It's gone now. It's gone now. These people, these congressmen are created by Hollywood. They're created because I mean I've been there. I've been in a presidential race. I hung signs up at in San Francisco. I hung signs up for Charles Collins for president. When I got up in the morning and went down there where the cameras were turned on, there was not a sign for Charles Collins around. And anytime he got up to speak, every cameraman turned their cameras to the ground and went out and took a smoke break. So, no, because he was speaking out against the Federal Reserve. Now, how are we going to vote somebody in that's going to do right for us when the television won't present us?
That's how you do it. And I've been preaching this since the 80s. Get your butts back on a paper ballot. Do your paper ballot where it has to be hand counted. Not computer counted. Hand counted. Paper ballot, paper ballot, paper ballot. How many times have I had to say that? You get a paper ballot and you get those assholes out of government. Quickly.
But you can't vote for somebody if you don't know about it. When the bankers control the media.
You got write-ins. You got write-ins. Paper ballots, too. Now, you know, if you people don't start listening. Now, we got a lot of people with big mouths out there. But you got some of the older generation that does know something. And you've got to get this nation back on paper ballot. And that's all there is to it. You can't get it straightened out. The only way you're ever going to get it straightened out is by paper ballot.
Now, let's go back to this Secret Service agent. Where did he come from? How did he get in touch with your daughter? Did they recruit your daughter a long time ago when they killed Rusty? When did they already have your family?
I don't know, but I did find out the other day that she said that they had moved Russell's body from the cemetery.
They did what?
Had moved his body.
Moved his body?
Moved his body.
What they do, they go after the families. I mean, they did it to my family.
Hold on now.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hang on, I had a neighbor walk in. Go ahead. I said I'm on the phone. Amy. I just know how you are. I'll be okay. Okay, hon, thank you. Okay, Clyde, go ahead. No problem.
What they did with me after they put me in the hospital, after they tried to overdose me, after they tried to kill me in a motorcycle accident, they went after my family. You know, make sure he takes this medication, arrange for long-term care, get guardianship, get a guardianship, file for guardianship. He may never be right again.
That's what they did to me, too.
And the woman came out to interview me from the court, and she said, you know, Mr. Douglas, I've been doing this for 7 years. I interviewed 7 people before you today, 7 head injury patients before you today. You're the most well-recovered head injury patient I've ever met. maybe I wasn't injured quite as bad as they said I was. They had to do this to justify a $750,000 hospital bill, and all of that hospital bill came from the drugs they tried to give me. I think that's the only mistake they made. Grandma was trying to overdose an old biker.
Well, quite the thing of it is, I had the head trauma also. I lost 80% of my vision. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk.
How did that happen? How did that happen? How did you get a head injury? How did that happen?
I was rear-ended by a bunch of Iranians, two Iranians, driving a Volvo, and they lived at the La Jolla Country Club down there. Now, you got to remember, this is when we were working on the Saddam contract. Okay? Those women never had to show up in court. They were high when they hit me. They rear-ended my Cadillac. I had just hit Sedan Seville. They rear-ended it at about 70 miles an hour. It caused a 40-some-odd car pileup in Paris, California on February 17, 1983. I believe there was 47 cars involved. They thought they had to wipe me out to get control of me there, but they didn't. So it's not been a pleasure, I'll tell you.
What do you think about this march on Washington? I mean, if we had 1 million bikers there,
Well,
but they
I'll tell
wouldn't
you
go
exactly
in.
what I told you earlier.
Tell me again.
One of these days, somebody's going to sucker you guys into going in there, and they're going to line up a bunch of machine guns and machine gun the living hell out of you.
Okay. Then what's the answer? I mean, you can't vote them out because they won't. The television stations won't tell you. We're already the most drugged nation. We're more drugged than China was with the opium.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. President's a man that took hit even his own son out and lined him up in her arena and shot him for drugs. They did the same thing in Saudi Arabia. They get him out there and put him in an arena and shoot him. Now that, I'll tell you what, this drug thing is ridiculous. There's morals there. The morals in this country, I can't believe the morals in this country.
You know,
I cannot believe the things that David Kennedy told my family. So, it was just the sickest thing, and that kind of stuff only comes out of Washington, D.C. That's, to even insinuate that they're incestuous relations. He told her I was having an affair with my son, that I was having an affair with this one and that one, people I don't even know. But I couldn't believe that stuff came out of my daughter's mouth, or she put it in writing, and she did put it in writing. So, Kendi, you do stand accountable. Because I put my morals up against anybody. And I mean anybody. I just, for somebody to have that kind of sick mind, that only comes out of that sick White House, out of Washington. That is sick.
We are
That's,
talking
it,
about treason here. This, what is
Right.
being, yes ma'am, go ahead, what?
it brings to mind an old joke that I remember back years ago when we talked about this two old gossips. Well, it wasn't a joke, actually. My mother and her sisters, they were talking about some young girl, and one of the aunts, she said, well, you know, she just shacked up with everybody in town. And mother turned around and she says, well, you know, this isn't a very big town. I said, mother. But, you know, you have to laugh at think that somebody is that sick that they have to come up with that kind of crap.
Well, this, you know, I've always been looking for answers, Vina.
I learned a lot. I've learned more watching this World War II in color, which is on History 2. And the first time I saw it was just in the last couple of days, but after watching it, and I'm going to tell you something. I'm not so sure Hitler was the bad man everybody made him out to be. Because behind him, the ones that were doing everything were the Zionists.
The Zionists were the Bolsheviks before that. They were the Pharisees before that. You know, and Jesus warned us about the Jews who say they're Jews but are not, or of the synagogue of Satan. And Benjamin Friedman, who was a decent Jewish historian, he referred to them as so-called Jews. He said they weren't, they were no more Jews, and the DNA has proved that. But for 2,000 years, or maybe more than that, they were. They've been enslaving us. I mean, they brought the blacks over on their Jewish-owned ships, and the blacks, it wasn't, we didn't go over there. The white man didn't go over and enslave the blacks. Their own people sold them out.
I always laugh. They think that, you know, they always so different because he had been told for so many years that Lincoln was a Democrat. Hell, he wasn't either. He was a Republican. But anyway, you have to laugh at the blacks, to me, have been so abused at the point and misused, and they have done it, and now it's become almost cult. You know, they're doing the same thing. Obama is doing the same thing to this nation that they did during the Restoration period. He's Uncle Tom in it. Carpetbagging. Uncle Tom.
And if you tried to prevent them from killing white, I mean, the same thing's happening in South Africa. Can you got any comments about that? Mandela is being idolized and lionized, and he was a murderer. He was a terrorist. He was, you know, put in jail for that. And now they've gone back and they're starting to kill the farmers and kill the white people.
He was a Nazi. He was a Nazi. That just came out recently.
I don't know. I would think that would be putting him in a good light, a better light than he's in actually. He was a communist. He was a communist. He was supporting the whole communist agenda. And I don't know, Grandma. Now, maybe you can tell me this, Vina. I don't know. I have a hard time trying to determine what's the difference. What's the difference between a communist and a fascist? I mean, the fascism is government control and corporations controlling the government, governments and corporations working together, exactly what Thomas Jefferson warned us against. And every plank on the Communist Manifesto, from central bank to graduated income tax to corporate farms is intact in America today. Are we a communist country, or are we a fascist country? What is the difference? I don't think there is a difference. I don't think there's any more of a difference between communism and fascism than there is Republicans and Democrats.
Well, I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
You scratch one, the other one bleeds.
that's like slap a Jew and you know, yeah, I've heard that joke too.
Yeah. Yeah, you chop one, the other one bleeds. It's just that simple.
I refer to the Republicans and Democrats, two wings of the same bird, and I feel the same way about fascists and communists. I mean, they still want to control you. What I want to see is individuals. I want to see all laws against victimless crimes abolished. I want to see this prison system torn down, or turn them into gardens, if nothing else. In Texas, I was in prison for put in there for smoking pot, daring to possess pot in Texas. Well, you can get a 99-year sentence, Clay, but we can get you 7 years. I can, and they'll make me the president of the bar association if I sell you on this. And you know, building more prisons to house more people for victimless crimes. What a racket! I mean, that's more of a racket than the war.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And Anne Rand, you know, I hear a lot of people put Anne Rand down. Well, she was a communist. She said if the government has no control over honest citizens, so they have to make criminals out of us. That's what the tax laws are about. This is what, and my God, they will go in right now. I've told people to, you know, grow food, not grass, in your backyard. Put a solar on or wind generator on your house. Tell the electric companies stick it up their ass. Tell the neighborhood association to kiss your ass. And if you grow your own food and generate your own power, you don't need the government. You don't need the banks for nothing. But they are going after people that are doing exactly that. And there are people all over the country that are growing food in their backyard, that are putting solar up, and now they're trying to stop that. In Europe, they're trying to stop heritage seeds. They want you to buy your seeds from Monsanto because we've sprayed these with bug spray, or we've already got the bug spray in them, but we're not going to tell you that.
Yeah, it's a sick situation. I never thought, you know, all these years that I have seen authority protecting independence. The very things, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and you know, everything that I believe is a lie.
Everything, repeat that?
Everything that I believe in is a lie. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors, yep.
It's
magic. It's magic. Watch me pull this rabbit out of the hat. Watch. Here, watch his hand. Watch his hand.
Only time you see that house, the House and the Senate mention the Constitution is when they want to put the law to take another bite out of the constitutional cookie.
I wrote novels about this solution, abolishing all the laws against victimless crimes. You want to kill yourself with heroin? Sit over there in that corner. You know, you know, as long as you don't hurt no one else, you know, you don't need to be.
I'm not an advocate of drugs of any kind.
I'm not either, especially
but
pharmaceuticals.
I'll tell you what I have watched. I've watched the anti-smoking. Well, nobody could smoke a cigarette. Well, I'll tell you what, Clinton did. He turned around and sold off all the caused all the tobacco rights to be sold off to China. You're watching systematically all of our infrastructure. I walked into Sears the other day. My friend had to go over there and pay on her bill, so I rode over with her. And it's evident that Chinese manufactured stuff is not floating at Sears. Neither is it floating at JCPenney. Now, we've watched the major companies such as Ward's down. We're watching Sears, and the Avila brothers started that back in the 70s. They were the ones that systematically took down Ward, and the two brothers did. Now, we had a very, very good economic system here until right now they're attacking McDonald's. They have been attacking just anything that has been the backbone of American commerce in the food industry. Well, now they're trying to say that swine flu is coming back. Bullshit. Every time you see that, the price of food goes up. They had the bird flu. Well, that made the Olympics destroyed all chicken. Look at the price of chicken. Look at the price of a chicken. You used to buy a chicken for less than $1.
And by the way, you know, I want to stress something. Marijuana ain't a drug. Hemp ain't a drug. It's a plant that God gave us, and they stole it from us. 10,000 products are made out of hemp, but you got to buy it from communist China. Maybe now you can get it in Colorado, maybe, but they're going to put...
Okay, like I said, you've got to get your paper ballots back. When you get your paper ballots back, you're going to get all those damn congressmen and senators and presidents out of office. You're going to get control of the government again. You will have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. You will have a government that represents the people and not themselves. Now, beyond that, I just, you know, I'm tired of hopping on the neg. I'm tired of standing here saying, come on, guys, get it passed in your states where you can use the paper ballots. You've got an election coming in. You guys need to get this on every referendum so you can have paper ballots out there. And you can vote on who you want. You don't go into these computerized machines. They're illegal as hell. But I'm 78 now. I'll be 78 at the end of this month. And I'm just trying to tell you, get your damn paper ballots. Use your heads for something other than just a hat rack, and use your mouth for making something of sense, not of just to hear your head rattle. Paper ballots. Paper ballots, and get rid of the son of a bitches.
All right, I agree with that. How are we going to do this? I got to tell you, folks, I stumbled upon a plan. You know, Vina, I've told people I think God's alive and well. He just uses, this is the 21st century, burning bushes are passé. God uses the internet. And yesterday I met a doctor through the internet that I hope to be working with, another writer I hope to be working with. The gentleman I had on my show is talking about food and money, and I pointed out that Ithaca Hours has been operating for 20 years. That means Ithaca, New York has their own currency. They don't need the Federal Reserve. It's operating, it's working. They're doing the same thing in Colorado. And the gentleman that I had on my show yesterday, he's been a big help, and he said, you need to go talk to this guy. You need to talk to this guy. And he gave me a website, and I went to that website, and I talked to that guy. And this is a builder. This is a gentleman that's let's see. He spent more than 30 years developing the highly advanced, world-class GreenFire SuperHome. 15 years in design and on-site construction of these homes, and 15 further years in design and advanced engineering. He has over 150 patents in process on the SuperHome, and we've got I've got links to all of this up on my website. He is the CEO and chairman of NOAA's Project Noah's Ark. This is a non-profit Florida organization, as well as being the creator of the GreenFire SuperHome and the Veterans Green Bank and Noah's Ark Global Villages. Now, I've been talking about Liberty Villages for 20 years, but I didn't have the money, I didn't have the ability, I didn't have the experience to be able to do it the way it should be. He does. He does, and he put a letter out to President Obama, and I'd like to share that with you. Mr. President, those of us here that worked hard to get you elected believe that you are the one man that can truly change America at our most critical time. We continue to believe we were right in our choice, and your actions since the election have proven that you're courageous and committed in working with powerful people as well as bold and powerful ideas, and we want you to know that we stand firmly with you. Now, I may not agree with all this, but let's hear this out.
You lost me.
The most important part of our support is that in your campaign, you promised to reach out to the American people themselves for solution, past the powerful special interest forces that have controlled this nation, and past the top-down political solutions that have failed to deliver. That's why I'm writing you this letter. My name is Noah West. I represent a small group of American architects, engineers, inventors, innovators, and entrepreneurs that developed a technology for the first energy-independent homes back in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the so-called solar age. As you suspected, the technology to build an energy-dependent America already exists, but just barely. After 30 years of misdirection and doubt sown by the powerful energy companies, unfunded by the government or private investors, and ignored by the American people, most of us have gone on to other things. If you are genuinely looking for answers, we feel we can help, and with real-life bricks and mortar technology and solid financial blueprints for a few of America's critical problems, such as energy crisis, our fatal dependence on foreign oil, the failed housing market and foreclosures, unemployment, global warming, pollution of our air, water, and land, the poisoning of our food, and return of Americans to fundamental wealth, fundamental health, and fundamental values. The technology we developed is much more complete than the public has been led to believe or has been reported in the media. With this technology, we can start tomorrow to build homes run completely off the grid with rooftop solar, with no electricity at all needed from power plants, without electric transmission lines, and with enough electricity left over to power an electric hybrid car as much as 250 miles a day, all without a drop of gasoline. These homes could grow an abundant supply of pure, natural, organic vegetables and fruits from rooftop gardens and harvest rainwater for an unlimited supply of pure drinking water. Using new forensic engineering studies combined with new ceramic concrete technologies, we were able to build homes that can easily withstand the wind, storm surge, and the flooding forces of a Katrina-strength hurricane or the strongest tornado. Further, no new technology needs to be developed. This would save the American taxpayers the billions of dollars you originally committed to alternative energy R&D. To understand the solutions to achieving an energy-independent, self-sustaining, and safe America, it's important to first understand some of the technology and its history. Bear with me for a short history, as we are certain American is about to repeat the same technological mistakes of 30 years ago. First, I can tell you that the solutions and the technology did not come easy. There were hundreds of wrong turns and blind alleys by many of us. Sadly, they are the same blind alleys that the quasi-government LEED program is now, 30 years later, continuing to pursue. In the end, it became apparent that the fundamental roadblock to the development of a true off-grid, totally self-sustaining environmental home was America's addiction to the cheaply built and poorly constructed wooden home. I first entered the home building business in 1973, just about the time OPEC shut the oil tap the first time. In 1973 through 1978 was an exciting time for solar and alternative energy. Thousands of backyard inventors all across America were involved in a grassroots movement to solve the energy crisis. Then as now, virtually all American homes were made of wood. These homes lost enormous amounts of energy, and while a few of our group were able to significantly improve their performance, none of us could find a way to make them as ultra energy efficient as we needed them to be. In 1978, we finally reached the conclusion that the wooden home was fundamentally flawed at the structural level and could never be fixed. We needed to go back to basics. We needed to invent a new kind of ultra-high energy efficient home first. In 1979, we discovered a new kind of wall system that replaced the leaky, drafty wood framework of the wooden home with pure, solid, poured concrete, and replaced the extremely poor and dangerous fiberglass insulation with solid sheets of high-performing, safe polystyrene. Exactive test performed over a 2-year period in the severe climate of Colorado showed an 80 to 95% drop in both heating and cooling energy over the best of the wooden homes. The importance of this simple discovery cannot be overestimated. Saving energy means you don't have to generate the energy in the first place, and saving energy is always cheaper than generating it. In other words, our homes need as little as 5% of the energy to heat and cool them compared to ordinary wooden homes. Ultra-high energy efficiency is central to and an all-important first step in solving the national energy crisis, and yet it has remained an undiscovered truth for 30 years. Solar alone without ultra-high energy efficiency will not work. All of our efforts in the solar age prove that. If the roof of America were today somehow covered in photovoltaic solar cells, they would still not generate nearly enough power to heat the northern homes in the winter, nor air condition the southern homes in the summer, let alone power household appliances or an electric car. And by the way, folks, they have come up with an answer that I've been wondering why they haven't done for years. They've got a wheel that generates electricity. They have put a generator in the wheel, and when you put it on your car, it generates electricity when it spins, and it'll charge the battery of an electric car and keep it going. But let me go on with this letter that this gentleman has written to our current president. In 1980, a few of us built a prototype home on the high plains of Colorado using this ultra-high energy efficient wall system combined with a newly developed thermal averaging rock chamber, the precursor to the thermodynamic battery and air revitalization chamber, or TBARC, and a very successful thermodynamic wall siphoning system, neither of which were ever disclosed to the public. The results of the extensive 2-year scientific testing program surprised even us. For 2 years, this test home used almost no energy for heating or cooling in this harsh climate, yet remained a perfectly stable and very comfortable 72 degrees inside. Outside winter temperatures that reached minus 13 degrees Fahrenheit with winds of 70 miles an hour in the winter, and summer temperatures that reached 105 degrees. we have discovered a nearly zero energy heating and cooling system that worked in all climates. In 1982, the addition of photovoltaic rooftop arrays, batteries, and inverters gave us full off-grid capabilities and enough power for all the household appliances and electronics. At that point, we had achieved a completely energy-independent home and were ready for production. But OPEC had turned the oil tap back on again, and suddenly the crisis had passed. America returned to SUVs and lost all interest in energy-independent homes. All of us that had developed the technology had no choice other than to put the technology on the shelf and go on to other things. The creation of the global home in 2006, a few of the surviving members of our small group felt that the awakening to global warming ushered in by Al Gore in an inconvenient truth had finally created a new and compelling interest in energy-independent homes. Our small group reunited to create an entirely new category of home we call the global house, used here as a generic name, as it had two purposes. First, it was designed to prevent global warming by completely eliminating all fossil fuel consumption as well as CO2 emissions. Second, if we had already passed the CO2 tipping point in global warming, the global home was designed to survive the consequences of global warming, such as hurricanes and tornadoes, storm surge and flooding, droughts, winter and food shortages, as well as the current economic crisis. To create the first of these global homes, we took the best of the best from 30 years of American innovation and added new technologies that address the new issues brought by global warming. We believe the new designs will create the most advanced, energy-independent, self-reliant, and sustainable home in the world. This whole new category of home can be seen on our first website, www.greenfireglobal.com. He goes on to say that the current U.S. auto fuel efficiency standard is 24.1 miles per gallon, with a target of 35 miles per gallon by 2020. The current European standard is 39.2 miles per gallon, with a target of 48.9 miles per gallon by 2012, far ahead of the U.S., but the combination of a new American-made electric hybrid and electricity generated by solar power canopy atop the global home is a true game changer. For the first time, the term miles per gallon may become meaningless, as the new electric cars can run up to 250 miles per day on one charge. You can check out teslamotors.com for that. Moreover, global home electricity is generated from clean rooftop photovoltaic cells and not from coal-fired power plants, so CO2 emission is zero from start to finish. All the technology we need is available right now, including the photovoltaic arrays and the batteries. America can, in one fell swoop, surpass the goal set by the rest of the world with a new American goal of zero use of imported oil by 2045. And rooftop solar power from 3,000 square foot of solar... Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
How long is this letter?
I don't know. I don't know, dear. I'm just sharing it with you, but I'll stop here. I'm doing this to let you know that I'm going to be helping with this. I've talked to the gentleman in person that wrote it. I've talked to the gentleman. I like what he's doing for the vets. I like what he's doing with the self-sufficient homes, because this is exactly what I've told you. If you power your own home from solar or wind, and you grow your own food, you don't need the government for anything. He has put this into action.
Let me say.
Go ahead, dear. Go ahead.
Everybody has totally overlooked here, and that is communication. Recently, we have been going through power outages, and quite frankly, cell phone stuff, they just do not work.
What's that?
I said, we have been going through power outages, and during these power outages, your cell phones do not work.
Okay.
So you are left without communications. Now, this is a dangerous situation to be without communications. Because, but what do I know? I'm just an old 78-year-old female out here. But it's bad crime. Now, they'll never let his houses get going. He could have written that to a brain dead idiot when he sent it to Obama, because Obama's only care is, his only concern is for his own gratification. And it's same thing with Bush. Same thing with Bush, Clinton. It's their own self-gratification. The kids have had the, oh God, what was it? I can't remember. But anyway, they had a situation, and they're just focused, and the government stole it, killed them. They'll do the same thing with this young man. They'll never let it happen because big oil is too important. And I don't know. This thing has got so convoluted, it's so sick, that if you don't get your paper ballots back, you're not going to have a country. You're going to be fodder. You're just going to be fodder. That's all there is to it. And with them getting a situation where you won't be having communications, they can swoop down on you and nobody will ever know what hit you. You'll never know what happened. It's just that simple.
This plan, this gentleman, what this gentleman is setting up that I'm talking about, and I'm going to continue talking
about communications here, Clay. They can overthrow this country in a matter of seconds. Not minutes, seconds. When people can't communicate and let each other know what the hell's going on. Well, that's what's in our future. Better start thinking about what I'm telling you. That's going to be the first breakdown in taking over this government.
If you have got a community, a village, like I have talked about and described, then you can help protect it. You can protect it. You've got veterans there, as I have suggested for the last 20 years.
What about the rest of the country, Clay? What about the rest of the country?
You set the model up. You set the model up the way this gentleman's talking about. Self-sufficient homes, protected and run by veterans. Protected and run by veterans. And then if the rest of the... Excuse me! Let me finish here. You set your model up. You show it will work. You show how you can save money. You show how you can stop supporting the electric companies. How you can stop supporting the oil companies. And how veterans working together can take care of the people that are around them and help them and teach them and demonstrate the way to live. The whole Liberty Village concept that I've been talking about. And then we solve the problems as they come. I got a little modem here, a satellite modem. If I'm somewhere, I can plug my computer into this. I can plug the, and if my home is producing my own power, I can communicate by satellite. I can communicate by the computer. I don't think it's all going to go down immediately. And if we set the example for people, and right now I'm looking for veterans. I'm looking for veterans. I have told them I will do this. I will take this to veterans today. I will be doing this article. I will be promoting this and telling people about this. This is an answer. Everything else you're talking about is not an answer. I don't say that Obama is any better than Clinton or Bush before him. My career now spans pissing off 4 or 5 presidents. And Kennedy, that you worked for, was the last one that was trying to do something for the American people. The rest of them aren't. But We got a president up there that we have to deal with. If he doesn't do this and he doesn't work with us the way this man is proposing here, then he will be removed. I don't think you said you haven't offered any solutions here. The paper ballots won't work unless you know who you're voting for. The media companies don't do that. The internet has the ability to get you this kind of information, to get you this show, to have you on. Yeah, they can take it down. Yeah, they can take it down. But there's never been a time in history when it was easy to be free. I'm giving you answers. I found the answers, and I'm trying to share it with you. Go ahead. I'll get some more coffee. You there, Vina? Oh, I guess she hung up on me. Son of a gun. You know, guess she didn't like me talking. Too bad. I'm not saying Obama's the right one, but he's the one we got right now, and we have to deal with him. We have to deal with him. Now I will finish this. She didn't like me talking about this because this is an answer. She don't have an answer. I'm sorry. She's supposed to have the money. She's supposed to have this. She's supposed to have that. Everybody she's had around her turned against her. So she don't have the answers. I do. I do. And I found this man. I've talked to him, and I think he's right on. She don't want me. She don't want me sharing this with you. Tough shit. Now, this these rooftop gardens that he talks about. I've told you to start in your backyard. He's got a different way to do it. He's got a structure that's stronger, that's energy efficient, and this home rooftop gardens. It comes from a direction that is barely on the radar screen, yet has more positive, significant positive impact on both the environment and the energy than any other technology we've developed. These rooftop gardens use a growing technology that use aeration, harvested rainwater, and special organic compost to create a system with phenomenal growth. The rooftop gardens atop our global homes could easily produce enough pure organic vegetables and fruits for several families. Pure homegrown organic food along with natural pure water is central to our fundamental health program. But the ripple effect on our rooftop gardens reaches far beyond just a food production for global home families. Our gardens can eliminate the tremendous amount of fuel used today for growing, transporting, processing food. Some estimates that our food travels an average of 1,500 miles to get to our table. A home garden also eliminates all the paper and plastic packaging. Prepared food comes in as well as the mountains of trash produced. Some 85% of all household waste passes through the kitchen and into our landfills. And finally, we're in a water crisis that is getting worse, and large-scale corporate farming consumed more fresh water from our rivers, lakes, and underground aquifers by far than any other use. And back in 1980, this gentleman says, Noah, I began training men to build homes using this special new concrete technology, and I discovered something interesting. The best men I have ever trained and worked with were men just out of the military. They were used to working as a close team, and I needed a team for the special construction technology more than I needed traditional construction skills. The company we have formed to build global homes will be a prime employer of veterans who have returned from Iraq and Afghanistan. That gives us plenty potential construction army of millions of young, highly motivated, well-trained, and patriotic men and women. We are ready to start tomorrow. All the testing has been completed, blueprints are finished and in the vault. We have the technology we need right now. We meet all national and international building codes. Rural farmland for our villages is very available, and we have an initial army of millions of vets to draw from. Because of the current mindset in America, these new global homes in less than one chance, the new global homes stand less than one chance on 70 million of being built because of the current mindset in America. And he says, now for the bad news. For 60 years, Americans have been building cheap, disposable wooden homes that waste vast amounts of energy. The wooden home has become hardwired into our minds and our culture, and now comprise virtually 100% of the 70 million of single-family homes in America. After 30 years of private R&D by entrepreneurs and billions spent on government pork barrel research programs, there is still no commercially available, energy-independent, self-sufficient, and self-contained American homes. Why? Because much of the blame falls on the misdirection and doubt sown by the powerful U.S. energy corporations. We must return to the inescapable fact that highly efficient, energy-independent homes have been available for 30 years, and during these 30 years, 70 million Americans have individually made the choice not to buy energy-efficient or solar homes. 70 million to 1 is a powerful mindset to overcome. And there are further problems. Advanced energy independent technology cannot be built cheaply, and American homeowners and have overwhelmingly shown for 30 years they will not pay extra for either solar or high efficient energy efficiency. That means that if such advanced home can be built, they would never be able to financially compete with ordinary homes. Loss of technology. Current state of the art in designing and building ultra high efficient energy efficient solar homes like the quasi-government LEED program and others are only a return to 1970 technology, and they are misdirecting us away from true ultra energy efficiency and efficient rooftop solar. Our nation is very close to losing the advantages and technology gained over the last 30 years as those of us that have the knowledge and experience retire or lose interest. The size and scope of the solution: we need to build an average of 2 million new global homes each year for 35 years in order to rebuild the 70 million wooden homes as they decay or are destroyed by global warming disasters such as Katrina. Such a task is larger than any challenge America has ever faced. So what is the solution? There is one bright spot. One bright home, as we see it, only one. A privately, federally chartered, non-profit affirmative action green bank. We realize that banking at the national and international level is highly complicated, but at its simplest, the Federal Reserve Bank loans money directly to a small number of chartered banks and in turn lend money to other banks and financial institutions until it is marketed to the public as mortgages at, say, 5% for 30 years. Alright, let's see what else we got. I saw something over here, but I don't know what happened here. Okay. Let's see what this is. Vina sent me something here. Let me take a look at it. It's called Full Disclosure: The Internet Dark Age. Okay. We'll look at that later. Don't know that. The solution, the banking here. We are proposing creating a new kind of non-profit bank that also is chartered to borrow directly from the Federal Reserve, but at a rate of 1% for 60 years, reflecting the longer durability of the global home, and to pass this loan directly through to the homeowner, hence a non-profit bank. These loans will not be given to ordinary homes, only to homes that meet the highest energy and environmental standards, such as those represented by our global homes. Hence, these loans would be affirmative action loans. With this kind of loan, global homes would be able to financially compete with the ordinary wooden homes. For example, our standard global home has a superstructure of energy efficient, nearly indestructible ceramic concrete built vertically on 3 levels, including a 2,000 square foot second floor luxury home with 500 square feet of professional chef kitchen and a private elevator, 2,500 square feet first floor professional home business level, and a third floor, 3,000 square feet of organic hydroponic greenhouse for homegrown vegetables and fruits. Above the third floor is a special solar rainwater harvesting canopy with 3,000 square feet of solar panels, for a total of 7,500 square feet of built area, and will sell for about $450,000 exclusive of land. With a standard mortgage of 5% for 30 years, the monthly payment would be about $3,282 a month, well above the range of all but a few Americans. The same home would only cost $831 a month if financed at 1% for 60 years, well within the range of almost all Americans. If land on one of our village farms is included, it would bring the price to $562,500 or $1,030 a month, still within the range of almost all Americans. Now remember, the further advantages to the global homeowner. Global home has no electric utility bill, no gasoline cost with an electric hybrid, virtually no food expense, very little maintenance, and very little small home insurance bill. The kind of cost of living savings could radically change the financial picture for individual Americans and for us as a nation. Now, the Green Bank can be chartered with your signature talking to the President here and the cooperation of the Board of Federal Reserve. It does not need to go through Congress. The non-profit affirmative action Green Bank would be chartered to borrow directly from the Federal Reserve, exactly as the same as big banks do, except with a rate of 1% for 60 years, and this would also be specifically chartered to pass this loan directly through to the homeowner. These would be loans paid back to America. They're not the non-repayable giveaways currently being offered to large corporations, banks, and insurance companies. Being able to offer green bank loans to their customers would be a prize open to any American-owned home builder, provided they meet or exceed the standards we are setting for our global homes. But there's very real danger. Lowering the criteria to solve the current housing crisis by stimulating the further construction of inferior wooden homes or using a green bank to refinance existing mortgages would have very serious consequences. It would eliminate the incentive to solve the energy, water, and food crisis, and we would miss one chance to rebuild America as energy independent. It would eliminate the millions of jobs and thousands of new businesses that would be generated by rebuilding America. So all global homes must supply 100% of the energy needs of the home through rooftop solar, including 100% of heating and cooling. They must completely standalone, self-sufficient in household energy. In addition, all global homes must be able to supply enough electricity to power an electric hybrid car for an minimum average of 100 miles a day. All global homes must eliminate use of wood as structure elements. All global homes must be engineered to withstand all structural damage, from hurricanes, tornadoes, storm surge, and flooding. Such homes should be engineered to last for centuries, not just 30 years. They must offer substantial solutions to the pending national water crisis. All global homes must include home gardening and offer substantial solutions to the pending food crisis that will follow in the wake of rising fuel prices and coming scarcity. All global homes must be environmentally neutral. The impact on the environment and the native wildlife must be minimal. The owner of a global home must be an American citizen. The Green Bank makes pass-through mortgages only, no credit loans. Credit is left up to normal commercial banks. The Green Bank is not a solution to the current banking and credit crisis, only the future of energy-independent building in America. A Green Bank loan will be transferable. That is, the homes can be sold or traded, but cannot be refinanced, and that cannot be encumbered for other loans for the life of the loan. Also, the loan remains with the global home for the life of the loan, but the ownership of the home can change with the approval of the Green Bank. Global homeowners are encouraged to prepay the mortgage payments as security against the loss of their home to foreclosure rather than paying down the principal. Many of the new people that used money from the sale of the previous homes as a down payment on a new home lost that equity when home prices fell. Prepaying the mortgage, on the other hand, gives the homeowner several advantages. First, a prepaid mortgage acts as a cushion against hard times. If a homeowner were to use the same money from the sale of their previous home, put it back in a prepayment for a global home, they could have a 5 or 10 or 20-year cushion to fall back on as part of a long-term retirement program that cannot be taken away. Second, it helps to rebuild credit that may have been damaged in the current financial crisis. A person with several years of prepaid mortgage, especially with a global home, is an excellent credit risk. Third, it prevents homeowners from spending the equity on their home, one of the primary causes of today's foreclosure, and encourages America to develop fundamental wealth, the free and clear ownership of a self-sufficient home. What do you guys think here? There's more, but I'm going to be talking about this all the time. I'm going to let's see what we got to say in the chat room. You know, the thing that bothers me about Grandma is all she sees is the negatives. There is no positive solutions proposed. And yeah, I've got the straw bale houses up too. And yeah, some of the sandbag houses can work. Again, this ain't answer for everybody, but I think it's an answer. And I think it's a way to put veterans to work. And I'm going to be looking for those veterans. I'm going to be trying to offer them some hope. Okay, I'm not interested in the Palladians or the Celestians or the UFOs. This is real. I'm talking about something real here. Yeah, I got more than a word in. It's simply grandma is getting old. And, hey, okay. Let's go back to this. I've given you all the information. We're going to be talking about this on a regular basis. You've already got a home. You're locked in. Well, they planned it this way. They did this. 70 million single-family homes in America, not counting 45 million of other kinds of dwellings. Rebuilding this many homes not going to happen overnight. It could happen in 35 years if we were able to build an average of 3 million global homes each year. You need a construction army. Well, that's what he's going to try to put together. And whether Obama is going to sign this, whether the Federal Reserve is going to sign off this, that's hard to say. I doubt it. They want the system they got now. All these 70 million homes that we have, leaking wooden homes, represents profit for them, just like your gasoline. This is why they've come after Paul Pantone. And up on my website, I've got films about this. Let's see. And let's look at this. This one film here that we've got here. Let's take a look at that. About the energy. I've also got one up here about the Awake and Earthship Sustainable Living. These are people that have built their own houses using tires, using the Earthship type home that they started up in New Mexico. And I think that's a good thing, but I think this can be done easier. You can finance it.
Well, imagine never having to worry about hurricanes and energy impact. Imagine never having to gas up your car again or recharge your cell phone. An endless supply of energy that does not harm the environment and won't cost you a dime. In fact, it comes from thin air. My next guest says the technology exists. Here to explain how it works is Sean McCarthy. He's CEO of a company called Storn. It's a technology firm based in Ireland. Good to have you, sir.
Good evening.
This almost sounds too good to be true. Now, I know you're a genius, but if you could explain it in layman's terms for me.
What we've done is, about 3 years ago, we developed a way of constructing magnetic fields so that when you travel around the field, you suffer a net gain of energy. This energy, we have proven over the years, doesn't come from any other source. What that means in terms of a product is quite literally that, you know, if we deploy this as a replacement for your car engine, you'll never have to put gas into your car. We replace a battery in your cell phone, you'll never have to recharge your phone.
But where is the energy coming from, Sean?
Literally, there has never been an identifiable source for the energy. What this technology is doing is directly contradicting one of the basic laws of physics, the principle of the conservation of energy. So what we did last week is to issue a challenge to the world of science, to ask them to come and to test it and to let the public know that this technology exists.
So, and they were impressed by what they saw. There's something about the magnetic images or presence that makes this work. My immediate reaction to that was, is there any hazard, danger, cancer-causing type vulnerability here? Anything like that?
No, I mean, anything that has electrical energy in it generates a magnetic field. The kind of magnetic fields we're looking at here are very low level, and the technology itself is shielded, so there's no discernible magnetic field outside of the technology itself. Our key focus at the moment is to start a process of very in-depth validation from the scientific world, which will start later this year, and we expect the results of that to be released towards the end of next year.
You realize if you're onto something, Sean, you've driven the automobile business out of business and a host of others that depend on battery and fuel juice.
I don't see it. I think this is an opportunity. I mean, I think that one of the key issues that we face are polluting energy sources. This isn't going to put the automotive industry out of business, and quite the opposite. We see this as a huge opportunity for cleaner automobiles, for less toxic batteries.
All right. You're a private concern right now. You're deliberately not doing this to raise money, just to increase professional recognition, by which you can later on get funding, right?
Yeah, what we've said is because claims like this have obviously been made in the past, we've distinguished ourselves from other claimants by first of all saying, during this process we're not going to attempt to commercialize. This needs to be an honest review from the world of science. We will neither raise money nor license the technology until the world of science has fully acknowledged that the results, published the results of their technology and shown this to work. Our key focus at this point is simply to allow the public to see that this technology is available. We'll look then at commercialization after that.
All right, Sean McCarthy, thank you.
Thank you.
Now to another good idea, and imagine a machine that could power your house for free. Well, that's exactly what two Australian inventors claim they've developed. Using magnets and a battery, their new generator has been described as revolutionary, and foreign investors are lining up for a piece of the action. Chris Allen reports.
So John, this is the machine?
Yes, this is it, Chris.
What's it capable of?
Well, it'll power a house. The machine will provide sufficient electricity to run a house and have power to burn.
It sounds too good to be true, but inventor John Christie is convinced his machine will change the world.
So John, basically you're saying this machine can produce 5 times as much power as it consumes?
Yes, it does. This one, exactly as we see it, it does. And in fact, it can produce more than that.
Once kick-started from a battery, John and his partner Lou Britz say this prototype will run for years without stopping, generating 24 kilowatts of power a day.
You don't get more revolutionary, I think. I mean, we're talking about something that has the capacity to change the way that the world produces its electric power. It has the capacity to change the way that cars are propelled. It can replace the combustion engine, in fact.
John, these are big claims. Are you sure you can live up to them?
We don't really need to live up to them, Chris. What the technology speaks for itself.
I mean, a householder could buy one of these machines and install it in his garage and power his house forever without buying another kilowatt from a retailer. I mean, that's how serious it is.
Steve Brassington is an independent electrical engineer. He's seen the machine and backs up everything John says.
It's revolutionary. That's the only way to describe it. I think the technology, it's not bending physics, it's just using principles that I guess are commonly in use in power generation today in a different way. These guys have thought outside of the square.
Basically, it's magnetic attraction and magnetic repulsion that provide the movement or the moment of the motor.
Can you understand why some scientists are sceptical about it?
There is no physicist or engineer who has looked at our motor or has looked at our figures who says it doesn't work.
Lou is an electrician and John a businessman in Cairns in far north Queensland. The two unlikely inventors have been tinkering with their machine for 6 years. They've applied for an international patent and have been swamped by people wanting a piece of the action.
He's the cause. We mentioned the cause don't get hot.
Local businessman Alex Roma is one of the many offering money to help develop the generator.
It proves up to be what they say it is. Certainly would be something I'd invest in.
John has also spoken to millionaire inventor George Lewin, the man who came up with the Triton workbench, and who's now setting up a fund to stop Australian inventions going overseas.
There's an opportunity here, I think, to share an invention with the world that is beyond anything that we've ever contemplated before.
Since the 8th century, scientists have been trying to develop a machine with the power to change the world, able to produce a limitless supply of energy. Leonardo da Vinci declared it an impossibility. Others, including Johann Bessler in the 18th century, claimed success. They were dismissed as charlatans. But is the search at an end? Has the holy grail of science been discovered in this Dublin business park? The businessmen behind the claim say this test rig proves their theory. As it turns, it's making more energy than it's using.
What we found is that when you construct certain magnetic fields using permanent magnets, the kind of magnets you have in your fridge, that certain constructions of these magnets cause certain fields. When you travel around the field, stopping and starting at the same position, you gain energy.
The trained engineer who set up Stiorn says the results were found by accident 3 years ago. 8 people and organisations have tested the theory, but they won't say who. The company's claims have drawn a surprising response from physicists.
We get daily, emails, telling us that somebody's going to come around and beat us up. We have had certain people involved in the project phoned up by a physicist who told this person to watch their back. We've had bloggers turn up to the office. I've had one blogger turn up to my home. It is amazing the depth of feeling, and this is fundamentalism from a scientific point of view. This is literally the reaction to our claim here is a religious reaction. It's the only way that I can put it in a way that people will understand.
Undaunted, they put this advert in The Economist, inviting scientists to join a jury of 12 to test their findings. The counter on their website suggests nearly 5,000 have replied. Stiorn will fund the research as long as the scientists agree to publish their results.
We would like them to be as widespread as possible, ideally geographically, but it's very important that they are the best people in the field. There's no value in us doing this and then ending up with a jury that we can be told are actually they're not the most qualified people. So we have to get the most qualified people we can get, otherwise it won't hold water.
But why are so many so sceptical? Because it challenges the very foundations of physics.
There are 2 fundamental laws that we consider in thermodynamics, the laws of thermodynamics. And the first law says that you cannot create or destroy energy, and you can only convert it from one form to another. And the second law of thermodynamics says if you put energy into a system, you can't get all of that energy out. But there's always a possibility that we will find something extraordinary, but I'd say I'm a bit sceptical that we are going to find something that will break all the observed laws.
The testing could take years, but it's still a high-risk strategy. Stiorn staff know they face global ridicule if the verdict is damning. The prize for success is a priceless patent, which would end our dependence on oil and potentially extinguish poverty, famine and drought. Now the jury must deliberate. Robert Nisbet, Sky News, Dublin.
This coming from overseas. Inventors, and I saw this last year, years ago, maybe in Australia, they invented a little magnetic generator. You could stack it so you could get more power, run forever without oil. I went to the Tesla conference, and I asked them, well, how come you don't have why haven't you built a magnetic generator? They were afraid. They were afraid if they did it and they hooked it up to the power companies, they would come in and kill them or take it away or destroy it. And that's exactly what they did to the woman. They took away this woman's house in Florida because she was energy independent. So this is what they've done to Tesla. This is what J.P. Morgan did to Tesla. This is what they did to Paul Pantone and the GEAT system. This is what they do. Now, folks, I've been telling you about these systems. I am pointing it. And this whole, I've told you about the Liberty Village. Now here's somebody that is doing it. But my guest this morning, V.K. Durham, didn't want to hear about it. Didn't want me to talk about it. Didn't. Oh, let's tell you everything that could go wrong. Everybody, and that's what they're even doing in the chat room here. This is what could go wrong. Well, they aren't supposed to do this. They aren't supposed to do that. They aren't to do. They're going to go after wood. It's never been easy to be free. But if you organize and you bring the veterans together to form a village, as I have described, the Liberty Village concept it was valid when I figured it out 20 years ago, and I said we've got the technology to do it, and we can do it now. We can do it now. I would appreciate your support. If you like this show, go to shop.freeamerican, buy some of the magazines, share them with it. I've also got, in this last issue, the 2014 issue, I've got the story about new technology. They got a Nobel Prize for it. New technology. Talking about energy efficiency. Talking about something that will transmit electricity. You can make batteries out of it. Stronger than you can imagine. Stronger than you can imagine. It will work. It's in this issue of the magazine. It's called Graphene. I'm out of here. God bless you all. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.